So the WNBA Expansion Draft is happening soon, and every team has already submitted the players that they have to.
A single deleted post can rewrite a season. For Indiana, it took less than an hour. One picture, 6 smiling faces, and a league full of screenshot receipts. Fans didn't just notice, they connected the dots. If that image did reveal the Fever's protected 6 for the Golden State Valkyries expansion draft, then Indiana may have shown its hand at the worst possible time. The rulebook is cold. You keep 6, you risk the rest, and a brand new franchise decides what you lose. That's why this moment matters. Because one name missing from a list can echo for years.
So lads, the Indiana Fever might be making a huge mistake. Again, this is a might because you just never know. You never know when it comes to things like this because you don't know how players pan out. You don't know. Maybe you're overrating a player, maybe you're underrating a player, but it's always kind of hard to tell when it comes to young players.
An expansion draft isn't a normal draft. It's a stress test. The league lets the newcomer stock its roster by selecting players other teams don't protect. Under this format, franchises can shield 6 names. Everyone else becomes a possibility for the expansion team, with some restrictions. It sounds simple until you run into real rosters with real chemistry and real contracts. Do you protect the star? Yes. The co-star? Of course. But the final 2 or 3 slots are where front offices earn their salary. That's where you choose between upside and reliability, between the kid you believe in and the vet who keeps a locker room calm. And when the Valkyries entered, they didn't tiptoe in. They arrived with a clear date on the calendar and a structure ruthless enough to snatch hidden value the moment another team blinks. But that was just the rulebook. The real shock came from a timeline glitch on social media. Late November 2024, the Fever posted a graphic. It shows 6 players and a smiling coach. It looks harmless until you remember the number that matters. 6. 6 is exactly how many names a team can protect. Within minutes, fans zoom in, share, speculate, then delete. The image disappears, but the screenshots don't, and the community does what the internet always does. It treats possibly like probably, and probably like confirmed. Responsible outlets called it what it was, fan inference off a deleted post, but the damage was done. Indiana had stumbled into the no man's land between secrecy and signal, and the league was watching. And if that photo really did mirror the Fever's internal board, one detail turned a minor hiccup into a real decision point.
If I was the Indiana Fever, I would genuinely want to protect Grace Berger. Because I think Grace Berger I think in the modern WNBA, Grace Berger is going to be such a good...
3 names were never in doubt. Caitlin Clark, the face of the new era and a walking ratings spike. Aaliyah Boston, a rock at the 5 with elite touch and balance. Kelsey Mitchell, the bucket who bends defenses and keeps the floor honest. Those 3 form a clean spine. After that, it gets real. Lexi Hull brings wing defense that coaches love because it travels, it holds in the playoffs, and it doesn't need touches to matter. Nalissa Smith, spelled just like that, is a mobile big with rebounding pop who nudges the pace forward and punishes soft glass. Those 5 give you identity on both ends and a timeline that fits Clark and Boston's window. The 6th slot? That's where the argument lives. Some fans saw a veteran stabilizer. Others saw a chance to bet on a developing guard. The photo, if you believe it, picked a lane, and that lane left out a young playmaker many wanted to keep. Which brings us to the name everyone kept circling, Grace Berger. Here's the honest scouting take. Grace Berger gives you size at guard, composure, and flashes of secondary creation that grow next to a heliocentric shooter. You can see the outline, second unit organizer who scales into a starter if the shooting volume holds. There's value in that, especially on a team that just added a superstar who warps coverages. The pushback is about scarcity and certainty. Can you find a steady bench guard on the market? Often, yes. Can you find one who fits your locker room and timeline as well? Not always. The calculus is ugly. You protect the pieces that would be hardest to replace in your exact context. Some executives protect the present, some protect the future. Berger sat right at that crossroads, making her omission, if the inference is right, feel less like an oversight and more like a philosophical choice. And remember who's waiting on the other side of that choice. A new franchise with money, models, and motivation.
a 95% chance the Golden State Valkyries select Grace Berger. She is young. She's like 24 maybe? She is a 6-foot tall point guard. She can shoot the ball. She led the W in 3-point percentage 2 seasons ago. And she's also can handle. She can pass. She can defend.
The Golden State Valkyries did not enter small. Ownership wrote a $50 million expansion check and built the brand like a tech startup with a basketball heartbeat. By mid-2025, coverage around the league framed them as a valuation rocket, with reports placing the number in the hundreds of millions and not the low end. That means data teams, scouting hires, and a front office that attacks edges the moment they appear. An exposed guard with size, control, and cost certainty? That's a classic expansion play. Raise her usage, wrap her in shooting, and watch the perception jump. That's how you turn other teams, maybe later, into your right now. But big wallets don't win drafts by themselves. Understanding history does. Leaks don't just spoil surprises, they shift leverage. When your likely 6 are public, accurately or not, your phone gets louder. Agents push. Rival GMs test your nerve. The thing you planned as a quiet protection strategy becomes a market signal. And in expansion years, markets move fast. You don't need to dredge up exact past comps to know how this works. Premature clarity invites opportunists. A list that looks obvious can still be rearranged at the last minute. A safe omission can become a trade chip or a smokescreen. Smart teams leave room to pivot without blinking. That's the art. Keep enough ambiguity to protect your plan B, but enough internal conviction to execute plan A when the clock hits 0. Meanwhile, the outside noise only got louder, and it wasn't just basketball talk anymore. It was business. From the moment Clark arrived, everything around Indiana got bigger. Drafts, regular season windows, even preseason clips, numbers climbed. The 2024 draft shattered records. The 2025 one settled in right behind it. That broader audience changed the stakes. You weren't just managing a roster, you were managing a story. One rumor turns into 10 think pieces. One deleted post turns into a week of radio hits. Decisions that used to live inside a building suddenly live on national timelines. And when a franchise adds that level of attention, it's not only about star power. It's about process power, convincing the world you have won. So what does good process look like under a magnifying glass? First, tier your board. Tier A, players you do not lose under any circumstance. Your system cornerstones and irreplaceable context fits. Tier B, players you love but could swap for equal value if the expansion team forces your hand. Tier C, players you can recover via free agency archetypes or your own pipeline. Second, build-outs. If the expansion pick targets a position you can fill cheaply, you accept the hit and protect the rarer piece. If the expansion pick threatens your playoff rotation, you explore a pre-deadline trade that converts exposure into an asset. Finally, control the message. A deleted post can happen. What comes next must feel intentional. Tight statements, aligned leaks, and a board that can absorb an unexpected move without panic. The goal isn't perfection, it's survivability. You want to come out of expansion week with your identity intact and your margins protected. And that loops us back to the original flashpoint. If the 6 were what fans think they were, what does it say about Indiana's plan? And did the risk make sense? Here's the balanced truth. If the Fever really did tip their 6, it wasn't a catastrophe, it was a test. Can a team live with the internet knowing which walls it built? Sometimes yes, if those walls are the right ones. Protect the gravity pieces, trust your development staff, and dare the expansion team to overpay for the role you've already learned to replace. But if you misjudge which skill is rare on your roster, you don't feel it in December. You feel it in August, when rotations shrink and every possession gets heavier. That's why one missing name can loom so large. Not because it's drama, but because in this league, the line between savvy bet and avoidable loss is razor thin. So is this a blunder or a bluff? It depends on whether Indiana valued the right scarcity. And that's the part no screenshot can reveal.